Hey, what's going on? And welcome back to the Rockman Power Hour, a weekly show where we talk to some really, really interesting people. And this week we have one of those. Not only is this guy interesting, he's a legend and he's Canadian royalty. I'm a guy who grew up in Montreal and grew up in the country of Canada. And I'll tell you, speaking of this man's name, it is never done in a light way. This guy is a heavyweight when it comes to rock and roll globally, but he just happens to come from Canada. And of course, I'm talking about Alex Lifeson of the band Rush and his new project called Envy of None. This album is phenomenal. It is completely different from what you expect from Rush, but it's kind of in line with what you would expect from Alex Lifeson. This is his not his first foray into the solo world, but this is definitely feels like a new band more than his last album, which was a solo project where he enlisted singers. This feels like he's part of a new band. So really excited to let you guys hear today's chat with Alex and to unwrap what's been going on in his life. But before we go any further, we got a couple of things that we need to do. First of all, we need to thank Heartbeat Hot Sauce, who are our title sponsors for the Rockman Power Hour. I am holding up the pineapple habanero, which I've been enjoying quite a bit. And I know my co-host Ryan Stick is a big fan of the Heartbeat Hot Sauce as well. Are you not? Oh, you're getting right into it. Look at you. What do you? I really hope you're not doing that with a very spicy one. Was that a milder one?
Jason, I got to be honest with you. I thought I was grabbing the dill pickle, but I grabbed the jalapeno one instead.
Oof.
So
Yeah.
just to say, everybody, considering, first of all, I feel alive. I just drank a full thing of coffee, and that was more effective. So people, in the morning before you start your day, may I suggest Heartbeat Hot Sauce directly in your mouth before you go and you're on your next adventure.
Just let you know too, with Heartbeat Hot Sauce, what's great is this is a 6-pack that you can get from them, and you can choose the ones that you want. You can mix and match, and they will deliver this right to your door. Great company out of Thunder Bay, Ontario, which we love. So check them out at heartbeathotsauce.com. All the information is right over here, and you can find that obviously in the description in the video if you're watching it. So Ryan, Alex Lifeson, Rush. Now, growing up in Canada, Rush, it's kind of like hockey. It's kind of like maple syrup. It's kind of like healthcare. It's just part of the fabric of our country. So it was a real treat to talk to Alex Lifeson today. I mean, I met him before very briefly at a meet and greet, like a nerdy fan. And it was something else, man. But he's just got this smile. He's got this smile. And I recall that I went with my buddy Mikey, and we went to this meet and greet on the last tour that they did in Montreal. And unfortunately, Neil Peart didn't do meet and greet, so it was always Alex and Geddy. And I have this great picture of myself and Alex and Geddy, and Alex just has the nicest smile on his face. And it was so nice because, you could tell that he knew people were meeting him. He knew people were doing these photos, and he wanted them to be nice keepsakes for them. So he didn't have a pudding face on. He was really, really smiley. And the other thing I like about Alex Lifeson is, and about Rush, is that when they would do these meet and greets, they donated all the money to charity. So I thought that was really, really cool.
Man, just when I thought Rush couldn't impress me enough with their musicianship, they have to have big hearts too.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously everybody knows, Rush unfortunately are no longer touring, and the question of where the band is going to be is pretty much up in the air. But they have definitely left an incredible body of music, and it's just mind-boggling when you think of the effect that they have had on popular culture, the effect that they've had on music. We just recently lost Taylor Hawkins from the Foo Fighters, and Taylor was the biggest Rush fan. And it just shows you that every rock star that's come out in the last 30 years or so, maybe even 40, have had some kind of a connection to Rush in one way or another, whether it be an artist that they looked up to, whether it be a direct love of the band. They've been affected by Rush, whether they know it or not. And that's not an easy thing to a label to put on a band. But you can put that on Rush easily. they're pioneers. They really, really, truly are. So to talk to Alex Lifeson today was an absolute thrill. He's got a brand new project called Envy of None that is coming out on April 8th. And I'm really, really excited to present our chat with Alex Lifeson of Rush and Envy of None.
What have you got there? Robots?
No, I'm into Ron English, who's a pop artist. He's a pop culture artist. He does a lot of street art. They call him the godfather of street art. So he kind of influenced Banksy and Shepard Fairey and stuff. So yeah, so he's got some goofy stuff back there that I love.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat today.
Of course.
It's always a pleasure to talk to somebody from not only from a band that I've loved for a long, long time, but from someone who continues to push the boundaries. I got through 2.5 listens of Envy of None today, and I loved it. I have to be really honest. I'm someone who, I'm 51, so the 90s for me were very, 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 very important decade. And what I loved about the 90s, there were no rules. Like you just saw styles mashing and crashing into each other and forming these beautiful creations. And when I put on the record, I had that vibe that I was in a bit of a time machine, and I went back to the 90s.
Yeah.
Was that intentional, or is that just what happened?
That's just what happened. It was a long process. We started about 5 or 6 years ago. Andy got in touch with me, and I'd known Andy for years through Coney Hatch, and we were label mates for a while, and he worked at our office for about a dozen years. When Rush had finished the last tour in 2015, Andy reached out and he told me that he had some just bits and pieces of ideas, and he asked if I would, put some guitars on just so that he had a reference. So very casually, I threw a bunch of guitars and some, other ideas on the stuff that he had, and we didn't really do much. It just kind of sat there. Sometime later, he met up with Maya. We originally had another vocalist, another female vocalist, but he met up with Maya in a contest. She'd won this contest, and he was one of the judges.
Okay.
And in their conversation, she said, "Let's write together." So she came in. I heard her voice. I thought there was so much potential there. Yeah. And then we started getting serious really in the last year and started doing a lot of the recording this past year and writing. So it was a very organic thing. It definitely has some of those colors, I think, from that era, for sure. And I think that era is dear to Andy's heart as well. And that's sort of where he came from. Yeah. And I just loved working on the material. It was real experimental exploration for me in how to treat the guitar in a different way.
Well, that's it. When I listen to that record, sometimes I forget that there's guitar on it. And that's a good thing, I guess.
Absolutely. That was my intention. Certainly, the stuff that Alf did was great. I didn't want to replace anything. I didn't want to be the guitarist in this outfit. I wanted to, like I just said, explore areas where I can make the guitar not sound like a guitar, but not sound like a keyboard or a synth. So it was really a lot of fun doing backward stuff and really manipulating through plugins and different effects, the guitar sound. And there are some songs like Dumb, for example, that's loaded with guitar, but it doesn't sound like guitar in very much of it at all.
It's funny because, Victor and this are so different. And, a lot of people are, they love to put things in boxes. So they'll say, okay, that's one solo record. Here's another solo record. But to me, Victor sounded like a project that you enlisted people with. This sounds like you're in a new band.
Well, yeah, you're exactly right. And that's exactly what I did with Victor. And I like to make people feel inclusive. So Victor became sort of a band, but it never really was. And it's the same thing with Envy of None. We're 4 independent writers that came together to make this record, and very organically. There were no expectations or demands or anything. We just worked. We shared files, and the pyramid of evolution of these songs was done that way. And we were never in a room together recording, and that's fine because no one really does that very much anymore anyways.
Yeah.
And with the pandemic and all those other things, it was the only way we could work. And it was a very, very good working relationship. And I got very close with Maya. I was really inspired by a lot of her vocal arrangements. She's really something else.
She's wonderful.
Absolutely. Her vocals just sits on top of this I don't know how to describe it. Sometimes it's industrial, sometimes it's pop,
Yeah.
sometimes it's Euro pop,
Yeah.
sometimes it's country. It's amazing how she just transports the music by her character, her vocal character and lyrics.
I'm somebody who loves, I love soundtrack music.
Mm.
I'm a big soundtrack guy. You know, I love, I really, really like John Carpenter. You know, just and the way he came about writing soundtrack. I mean, he had no money, so he had to do it.
Uh-huh.
But you know, some of the stuff's iconic. But when I listened again, you know, I don't like to pigeonhole, but I mean, I had a '90s vibe. But then sometimes I was, you know, I was in Blade Runner. You know,
Yeah.
it was just really, really cool. Do you find sometimes when you sit down with people that you haven't written with, and obviously I guess this happens all the time when you get in a room with different people, but when you write with a project like this and then things start to shape, do you ever say to yourself like, wow, I never knew we had that in us, or you never knew you had that in you?
That's actually a great question. I know I have that in me.
Right.
For me, this project was very liberating. I've been. It was a difficult. Uh, it was difficult to accept that the band was over, even
Yeah.
though it was 41 years, and there's no shame in ending it after that period of time. And Neil
No.
didn't feel he could play 100%. It was just getting too difficult to play this kind of music for 3 hours a night.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. That was the end. And then within a year, we found out he was sick. And so it was quite a turbulent period.
Yeah.
But I have all this music in me. I think I'm more a songwriter than a guitarist. And I always thought of myself as a guitarist first.
Right.
But I'm realizing that I have so many ideas and they're all over the place. And they're more about melody and about harmony and about space and about mood and color and tone rather than just, playing.
Right.
And
Right.
that's why I think there's only one guitar solo, like a traditional guitar solo on the whole record. And
Yeah.
that was an old thing. Spy House was written way back in 2016, I think. So.
So, and it's funny because sometimes a band member from a band that is iconic, when they do, whatever situation brings them to that point where they do have to go out and create, you never know what's going to come. And perfect example is a guy like Dave Grohl. I mean, Dave Grohl is one of the most celebrated rock stars now, and for a while he was just a drummer in a band, and look what happened. So I just hope you continue to create music, because and I know there were big gaps in between these records. Obviously, Victor's a little over 25 years now. I just hope you continue with that now that you have a bit more time maybe on your plate, because you have some great stuff in you.
I'm excited about it. I really would like to move into the area of soundtrack work and that sort of thing. Andy and I have done a couple of small things for Amazon, and we had a placement in a series. We're going to continue to do that sort of thing aside from this. But boy, I just it's very visual for me, the whole process.
Yeah.
And this record sounds very cinematic. There's so much great ambient trippy stuff going on. It's very rhythmic throughout the whole record. That's the thing I love most about this record.
Mm-hmm.
Every track has this pulsing rhythm that's not in your face. It's not like a kick drum pounding away or a beat. It's subtle little movements in the guitar parts and in the keys and the way the vocal works and delays and things like that. So it's every song is constantly moving. Well, I mean, that's trite to say that because that's what music is. But
yeah,
I
but I know what you mean. Yeah, no,
there are
totally.
layers and layers and layers of rhythm.
I mean, I had the benefit of being able to listen to it. I had my AirPods on, and I really absorbed it, and I did stuff. I was doing dishes, I was tidying up, but I love that, because I really like when stuff brings me to a place. And then my wife kind of tapped me on the shoulder because she needed me to do something for the dog, and I was like, you came into my bubble. So that's a good, I like when albums take me on a bit of a journey and bring me somewhere. And that's what always was the love for me with music. The first time putting on, being 13, putting the headphones on for the first time and listening to Dark Side of the Moon and on vinyl, just wow. So when an album takes you to a place, that's what music's about.
Yeah.
It should be,
absolutely.
at least. It should be.
Yeah, sure.
Judging by your background and by all the stuff you have, pandemic for you and being able to sit in a room and create and not have to go anywhere, was that comfortable? Were you okay with that?
Yeah, I was okay. I looked at the whole thing as the situation. It is what it is, and you just have to deal with it. So, in the beginning, like in April, I guess March of 2020, we kind of shut down here in Toronto.
Right.
And after a few weeks, we noticed that the sky was a lot clearer and the air was cleaner and the birds were chirping like crazy all over the place. Animals were coming back into the city, no cars, no traffic. We were stuck inside, but it was kind of nice. And we fell into a pattern. We did our regular things every day. There was a lot of earlier wine drinking, at lunch instead of just at dinner. But it was fine. And it's tedious and it's irritating and everything, but it is what it is, and we have to deal with it. This was our attitude anyway. Right. So when I started working in the studio, it was just natural that I could spend all day in here playing and fiddling around. I get requests to do stuff on other people's records, and I have a pile of those requests that I have to go through. So it's busy, and it's my room, and it's my sanctuary, and to be creative and productive is great, especially when things are kind of locked down everywhere.
Is there plans to have Envy of None play live?
I know we get asked that a lot, and until the album comes out and we know what the response is like and what the demand is,
right?
It's tough enough for established bands to go out on tour.
Of course,
I'm after 45 years on the road. I'm not really that keen to go on a tour. I don't want to really sit on a bus and go town to town and then sit on the edge of my bed with the TV remote, channeling through news and. But I do still enjoy playing, and although I don't play live very much anymore, occasionally I do things, and it is a lot of fun. I think really what we would end up doing is, if there was a demand to do a tour, we would put a band together for Maya and take it on the road, small theater tour, kind of that sort of thing. Because this music in that kind of setting would be awesome. I'd love to be out in the audience watching that.
Yeah,
and then we'll be involved, and maybe we'll do a couple special nights sort of here and there, Andy and Alf and me. But we would mostly have her drive the whole live process.
Well, it kind of reminds me when there's a couple of iconic concerts that were filmed from Portishead, those theater shows, and they're magical to watch. So I don't like to, I'm not trying to just throw labels on stuff, but I really did get that vibe when I listened to the record. Some stuff like Sneaker Pimps, stuff, in the 90s when there were so many female fronted bands. It was almost like a renaissance for female singers, the 90s. So to hear it, the project kind of brings me to that. Yeah.
A lot of comparisons to Garbage as well.
Yeah. I can definitely hear that. I know that you're always involved with signature models of guitars and stuff, and you're very much into the you're the kind of guy that'll go to NAMM and enjoy it. I went to NAMM once and I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, no, get me out of here.
Never go there.
Have you been to NAMM before?
Never.
Okay, so you don't like the idea of going to NAMM.
No, I would.
Okay,
never.
Good. Really I automatically would assume you would love that because
I get asked every year, but no.
So you've never gone to NAMM?
No.
Really? Okay, but you are involved with gear. I mean, you do.
Sure, I am. Right. Yeah, with the guitars, I get involved. If I'm going to put my name on it, I want to be involved in it.
Yeah.
This whole Epiphone thing is quite successful, but we did the work with Gibson in 2010. Before that model came out, for 2 years, we worked on developing that particular platform, and then Epiphone just took it and made it cheaper, and made it more affordable for
an entrance level player.
The entry level, exactly. So I like to be involved in that stuff, but there's a limit.
Good. All right. So then so I'll bring you to Comic-Con instead. We'll have a better time.
Maybe so.
And lastly, I didn't want to talk too much about Rush, but I do have to kind of bring it up because, it is the elephant in the room. Sure. You launched a beer.
Oh yeah.
And the video of you and Getty was really fun. I mean, it was just really fun because you guys look like you're having a lot of fun with that. Is that something that you enjoy doing?
Well, this whole beer thing, I suppose we've been working on it behind the scenes for about 4 years.
Right.
And the brewery's great. Henderson, they're wonderful people. It's a small microbrewery. They were running 24-hour shifts when our beer came out. There was such a great demand for it.
Right.
Getty and I have been friends since our early teens, since junior high school. And not just friends, best friends.
Yeah.
And yes, brothers, whatever you want to call it. We are very, very, very close. And we just laugh so much. And we always have since the very first days.
Yeah.
When we're together, we get goofy. And so when they asked us to do these little pieces for the beer, we just, we would just wing it. We'd sit at the table and I try to make them laugh. And they're fun. They're very kind of approachable and, just it's just kind of goofy, which most people are, right?
Yeah, I think I liked when you said, I like to have beer 2 or 3, 4 a day.
Yeah, not much. Yeah, I'm not really a beer drinker.
I'm expecting I'm not really a beer drinker. I like to have one. I'm thinking he's going to say 1 a week, 1 a month, 1, 2, 3 a day. Hey, thanks for taking the time. And
my pleasure.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Alrighty. See you.
Okay, thanks, man.
Bye.
Is that what you were doing the whole time?
That interview tasted almost as good as this hot sauce bottle I'm drinking raw. Seriously though, what's amazing? You were mentioning a smile, and that's one thing I took away from editing this interview is that I'm like, oh my God, that smile lights up a room. He makes me feel like Christmas.
Yes.
But also it's like, you're looking at Rush. You have 2 huge in their field, like one of the biggest drummers of all time, one of the biggest bass player singers of all time.
Yeah.
And Alex could easily be the other guy from Rush, but he's an amazing guitar player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
everybody
that knows Rush appreciates every single part of Rush. And I always thought Alex was kind of like, he stood out to me the most because he was on Trailer Park Boys. I didn't see no Geddy Lee and Neil Peart on acting with Trailer Park Boys and stuff. So, big amount of respect for Alex Lifeson. I thought he was amazing. And it's such a great contrast to Ricky's bullshit on Trailer Park Boys.
Yeah. No, he was great on that. And it was really, really fun to chat with him. And I just find he's very kind. He's patient, and he genuinely is still curious about music. And the Envy of None record is it's really good, Ryan. It's eclectic. The singer that they got, Maya, is just phenomenal. Like, she's just such a good singer. And it just reminds me of like the 90s and 90s music when, we had this electronic-y kind of vibey, moody music with females, female fronted bands that just gave it just this beautiful push-pull dynamic of aggression, but a bit of beauty. And it's just, it's really good. And I hope people give this the time of day, because a lot of the times when, an artist like this will put out a project, you'll have the diehards that'll get it because it's Alex, right? And you'll get the people that'll say, oh, okay, well, it's something that Alex did, so I've got to have it, but this really stands on its own as its own band. And one of the things I like about this record, Ryan, is the fact that Alex Lifeson is experimenting with sounds. Yes, he is playing guitar on this album, but a lot of the times on this record, it doesn't sound like a guitar, and that's what's great about it. It's still pushing the boundaries, and it's being innovative, and you gotta appreciate that, and you gotta love that about Alex. He's always still trying to search for new boundaries, and no boundaries actually. He's just out there fucking searching, and it's great, and it comes across in this new project, Envy of None. I want to thank Alex Lifeson for being our guest today on the Rockman Power Hour. I also like to thank my co-host Ryan Stick. A big thanks to Heartbeat Hot Sauce for sponsoring us. Check them out if you have not yet. Heartbeat Hot Sauce. They are out of Thunder Bay, Ontario. I am holding Dustin Poirier's Louisiana style hot sauce. Yes, that Dustin Poirier, UFC legend. So check them out, heartbeathotsauce.com. You can order through them and you will not be disappointed. It is phenomenal hot sauce, and it's made by a small company here in Canada that are doing great things. Our thanks to our producer, Julia Kedzierski, and thanks to you for joining us this week, and we'll see you again next week on the Rockman Power Hour.